To love a desperate woman is to flirt with danger.
For most women, love enhances their life. For these women, love destroyed it.
A housewife embarks on a macabre garden renovation.
She didn't just want him dead, but wanted him gone, obliterated, wiped off the face of this earth.
Forbidden love drives a young woman to murder.
The only way to stop the pain was to stop the source of the pain.
And dissolving a marriage, literally.
And there was just a liquid, sludgy substance that was at the bottom of this barrel.
These deadly women have someone special in their lives, doomed to receive their lethal love. A little boy is missing his father. He hasn't seen him for days.
Bradley, get out of that dirt. Mom, I'm having fun. No, get out of that dirt.
But Daddy is much closer than he thinks. In Houston, Texas, early in her life, Susan Wright is a carefree woman.
Two pictures emerge of Susan. Yes, she was a topless dancer, but people also described her as sort of your hometown girl. She was a cheerleader, that she wasn't this sort of trashy person.
After a short stint in a strip joint, Susan becomes a waitress and beguiles the man of her dreams, Jeff Wright.
They had a very romantic and intense courtship, and he showered her with presents. They married when she was pregnant with their son.
She's quite the cook, ain't she?
In 1999, the Wright household is a picture of happiness. Charming Susan, the perfect host.
Thanks all for coming.
Susan felt that she had to present this sunny picture to the rest of the community.
She would participate in gatherings in the neighborhood. She had friends in the neighborhood.
But very early in the marriage, Susan is unhappy.
Susan and Jeffrey's marriage started out sweet and loving and tender. It did not end up that way.
Jeff is not measuring up as her ideal husband.
Woo-hoo! Look at that! Look at that! Look at that ass, man! That's the girl.
Jeffrey had a real dark side. Jeffrey had a drug problem, but said he had it under control.
Bring it on! Come on! I told you this place is great, man.
People said that he continued to do drugs, including crack cocaine, that he would go off and have these threesomes with strippers, that he was an abusive husband.
Delicious. Okay. Come to daddy.
Home becomes a battlefield. Husband and wife, the combatants.
What the hell have you been doing all day?
Raising two children?
Susan claimed that Jeffrey constantly criticized her, that the house had to be in perfect condition all the time.
Where's my dinner?
It's in the oven.
I'm sick of working all day, working hard for this family while you sit on your fat ass watching soap operas.
You call getting drunk working, do you?
And she tried to comply.
You had a problem with me having a few drinks after work, haven't you?
A few drinks? What a joke. You're a drunk.
According to Susan, their relationship became at first verbally abusive, and then Jeffrey became physically abusive.
I will eat
You just try it and see what happens.
But if Susan's being abused, she never tells the police.
There were never any official reports made by Susan alleging any abuse or violence between her and Jeff.
He's been hitting me again.
Susan says she couldn't leave him because as a Christian, she didn't believe in a divorce. And she also feared that he would take away their children.
What can I do?
To Susan, there is only one way out. On the night of January 13th, 2003, Susan will be the dominant one. She is luring Jeff into a trap.
I don't think that Jeff wanted a divorce or wanted out, but I believe Susan probably did, at least that night.
She is not making love to her husband.
You do this more often.
She is taking control.
Kinky, ain't it? What's he gonna do with that?
She was really angry.
What are you doing with that phone? Get off me!
In Houston, Texas, married couple Jeff and Susan Wright are good at keeping secrets.
Right and cook, ain't she?
Nobody knows their marriage is in trouble.
Jeff was proud of his relationship, and as well as Susan, they both defended their relationship during any kinds of troubled times, according to their families.
You call getting drunk working, do you?
This started out as a very passionate relationship, but became a very controlling one, allegedly.
I will hate you.
You just try it and see what happens.
Susan now wants to take control permanently. The bondage is not for kinky thrills.
What are you doing with that phone?
Candle wax had been melted and dripped on Jeffrey's scrotum.
What are you doing? Susan? Susan, what are you doing? Susan! No!
The first place Susan stabbed Jeffrey was in the eye, followed by many more stab wounds in the face and neck.
Susan does more than stab her husband. She attempts to annihilate him.
Our face is our personality. It's our essence. She wanted it destroyed.
But they are not alone in the house.
There was a knock on the bedroom door. It was Susan's little boy. Susan put on her robe, got him back to sleep.
Hey, sweetie, what's the matter? What was all that noise? Daddy and I playing a game. Why don't we get you back to bed? Okay?
And then she went back to the bedroom and resumed stabbing her husband.
She went and got a second knife and continued to stab him.
Are you ready for some more, honey?
Susan stabbed her husband at least 196 times, almost 50 times in the face and neck.
Do you like that, honey?
Not any single one of the cuts or stabs would have caused the death. So this man's death would have taken a long time and would have been in all likelihood quite painful, quite excruciating.
Jeff Wright eventually succumbs to his numerous wounds. His death, brutal overkill.
This is one of the most, if not the most, violent murder I've ever seen of a woman to her husband.
This is an upfront, very personal type of murder. This is the sort of thing, particularly with the mutilation and the cuts to the genitals, that tells you that the perpetrator had a sadistic streak to them, or that they truly wanted to punish the individual they were cutting.
She didn't just want him dead, but wanted him gone, obliterated, wiped off the face of this earth, wanted him punished, wanted him to cease to exist.
Susan buries her husband in the backyard, their children's playground. Then starts calling everyone she knows.
I'd just been to boxer practice, so it was all aggressive. And he'd been drinking.
She talked to Jeff's family on the phone and told them that, you know, he had become violent and had left the house.
He punched me in the stomach and he kicked me.
Police think they are dealing with routine domestic violence.
Oh, he just drove off.
She claimed that he attacked her, had attacked the children.
No.
And she went and filed a report with the police and even showed the police the wounds that she said she suffered during their fight.
I just want to
For friends and family, it is a complete shock.
We never had anybody come and say they witnessed any violence between those two.
The picture Susan paints isn't the Jeff anyone knows. And within days, the family becomes suspicious. Then, Susan cracks.
She was talking to many people, including her mother, and her stories just weren't adding up. The mother started cooperating with police, and finally, Susan admitted that this wasn't just a fight.
He didn't really run away.
What do you mean?
He's dead.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. You're overreacting.
That she did stab him many times and did bury him in the backyard.
He's buried in the back of our house. I didn't know what else to do.
The grave isn't hard to find. Jeff's body reveals this isn't a simple murder, but a prolonged, torturous ordeal.
197 incised wounds, stabbing, and cuts were identified. The medical examiner says there were probably more. They just can't be documented because they were just repeatedly in the same location. There's no doubt that Jeff suffered for a period of time while his own wife administered those blows. He was aware of who was doing that.
Susan confesses to stabbing her husband, but claims special circumstances.
She claimed that he attacked her, had attacked the children, and that she killed him in self-defense. That was her claim.
The jury doesn't believe her. In March 2004, Susan Wright is found guilty of murder. She is serving 20 years in prison. Was Susan a battered wife who finally gets her revenge? Only she can say.
Even if you are in a bad marriage, even if you are married to a monster, murder's not the way to go. Society will only forgive you to a point. If you kill somebody, you become just as bad as the person you killed.
I can understand most of this murder, but in the end, the extreme brutality and overkill is a little hard to take.
Sometimes love is all-consuming.
Alice felt no shame. She wanted the world to know how she felt.
Sometimes it is forbidden.
That was the beginning of the real problem.
When it is both, it can be lethal.
If I can't have you,
No one can.
The only way to stop the pain was to stop the source of the pain.
Late 19th century, Memphis, Tennessee. A young Alice Mitchell knows what she wants.
She was never interested in girls' games, never interested in dolls. She was very good at baseball. She was very good at climbing trees. Just a stereotypical male interests rather than female interests.
By 19, Alice discovers another typical male interest: girls. She is besotted with school friend Frida Ward.
In the era Alice lived in, there was a lot of pressure to not act the way she was acting, to not have the feelings she was having. She didn't care. Alice was a very bold woman.
Do you girls think you're in Boston? What? Have you ever heard of a Boston marriage? It's where two ladies live together like a married couple.
Really? The word lesbian wasn't used very much at that time. They looked upon them as what was called romantic friends.
Lily, stop giving them silly ideas.
Stories of the East Coast, particularly the Boston lifestyle, arouse Alice.
If they lived together in the East, they were often said to be in a Boston marriage. And that was not particularly looked down upon. There were many women couples in Boston marriages who were widely respected.
Do you like it? It's beautiful.
Alice now knows how she can keep her and her beloved Frida together forever.
From A to F.
The plan was that Alice would disguise herself as a man. She would change her name to Alvin Ward.
That way you can still call me Allie. Alvin Ward. I like that.
And Alice would get a job disguised as a man. Frida would be a typical housewife. She would do the cooking and cleaning.
Historian Lillian Faderman says Alice knew her limited financial opportunities in 19th century Memphis.
I think that was the reason she felt that the only way she could live with her beloved is to dress as a man, to run off with her to St. Louis where nobody knew them.
But Alice and Frida have one major obstacle. Frida's family discovers their plan.
Her mother had died early. She had an older sister who was married, who sort of took the role of mother.
Where do you think you're going? I can't stay here any longer. I want to be with Alice.
And it was the older sister who discovered the relationship between Alice and Frida.
Unpack your bag.
You're not my mother. You can't tell me what to do.
I said unpack your bag. You are not to leave this house again, and I forbid you ever to see Alice.
Joe! I hate you!
When Frida's older sister, Ada, found out the elopement plan, she stopped it cold.
Hoping to suffocate the girl's love, Ada moves the family away from Memphis and Alice.
Reading them letters is only gonna make you feel worse, Allie. You need to move on with your life.
I don't want to move on with my life. I Frida.
But it is a dangerous decision.
When Frida moved away from Alice for 6 months, this didn't quell Alice's affection. It made it grow into an obsession.
When Frida's family return for a visit, she's given strict instructions.
Her older sister insisted that she have nothing more to do with Alice, that she break it off completely, and that's what she attempted to do.
But Alice is waiting.
And that was the beginning of the real problem between Alice and Frida.
What's wrong?
Can't come in, Allie.
Why not?
I'm sorry, but we can't see each other anymore. My family won't allow it.
But I love you.
This sent Alice into the stratosphere.
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to forget about me, Alice.
For this besotted lover, there is no turning back.
I can't forget about you.
Once she understood that Frida would not go off with her and live with her as man and wife, she rather lost it.
If I can't have you, no one can.
Sorry.
If she couldn't have Frida, nobody would have her.
Memphis, Tennessee, 1892. 19-year-old Alice Mitchell is desperate. She is losing her beloved, Frida Ward.
Pull up, driver. She should come out soon.
Alice was suffering from so much mental anguish and mental pain at the thought of losing Frida forever, she could not tolerate it.
Frida has left town, but comes home for a visit. Alice sees an opportunity.
Alice simply could not handle the pain of not having Frida for herself.
When Frida goes for an afternoon drive in the country, Alice stalks her.
They're coming. What's happening, Allie? We're gonna follow them down to the boat.
She enlists the help of good friend,
Go, driver.
20-year-old Lily Johnson.
Lily apparently had no reason to believe that Alice was extremely upset.
This is a bad idea, Allie. We should not be following them.
If she had understood that Alice was going to do something dire, she probably wouldn't have gone herself.
Alice's problem wasn't simply Frida. Alice would have had a problem with any woman that she fell in love with that didn't love her back.
The two girls are forbidden to speak.
Alice had a possessive personality.
Did you see that? You wait here.
A crazy idea forms in Alice's mind that Frida wants to be with her, whatever the price.
She parked the buggy at a place where Lily could not see exactly what was going on.
The only way to stop the pain was to stop the source of the pain.
Frida!
She cut her at first. Frida broke away and tried to get away from Alice.
Leave my sister alone, you dirty dog! You'll hang for this! Frida!
And then Alice, knowing that she had only one more chance, caught up with Frida, grabbed her by the hair, pulled her head back, exposing her neck, and sliced her throat from ear to ear.
Alice is counting on a quick death, but she hasn't done a good job.
An individual who has been cut from ear to ear will not die instantly. This would be terrifying. This would be excruciating.
Alice loves Frida to death.
Alice actually said if she couldn't have Frida, then nobody would have her. I think that was why Alice killed her.
The most common motivating factor of any murder is jealousy. And this was Alice's biggest problem. Alice probably would have been dangerous to anyone she was involved with that didn't want to be with her.
Alice flees the scene but leaves an eyewitness. It is just a matter of time before she's caught.
When she was finally apprehended, when the police came to her home, she insisted that Frida was happy to die.
I loved her so.
Because they couldn't be together. That Frida loved her to the very end. She said that she was very willing to die, that she didn't want to live without Frida.
Alice has planned on being sentenced to death, but doesn't count on the thinking of the time. Her lesbian desires are seen as a mental illness, and she's declared insane.
The entire concept that Alice was insane had much more to do with the social norms of the day, that only a crazy person would fall in love with someone of the same gender. That's the way things were 110 years ago.
July 8, 1892. Alice is committed to the Tennessee State Insane Asylum. 8 years later, she dies in custody. According to some, of a broken heart.
Official cause of death, according to the insane asylum authorities, was consumption. But the rumor went around that it was suicide.
Alice felt no shame about her love for Frida. Alice was a very bold woman. She was bold before the murder. She was bold about her motives for killing Frida. She wanted the world to know how she felt.
You're gonna just sit there and act like nothing has happened.
A woman used to control is hard to stop.
This is the kind of person that will not let anyone get away with anything that she doesn't want.
Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, hey?
Being the boss can be all important.
She saw what she wanted, and she made it happen.
In California, 2002, the town of Clovis is a peaceful haven.
Clovis is generally known as being a quiet community, quiet, kind of an upscale neighborhood.
An ideal place for Tim and Larissa Schuster to raise their children.
They were married for about 20 years. For a lot of people, they seemed like a pretty normal couple.
Make sure you serve those potatoes evenly. I want my full share.
Affluent and successful, the family's good fortune is due to its strong leader, Larissa.
You kids want crackling or not? Right.
Larissa grew up in Missouri, and she was a hard worker. She excelled in high school, academically, athletically, and was a very ambitious woman.
The couple work together, but it's biochemist Larissa who calls the shots.
Now this is what I'm talking about. Steve, come and have a look.
Really?
She builds up $1 million research laboratory.
This is what we're aiming for.
Pretty strong-willed woman who really commanded the respect from a lot of people in her industry. She was basically running the business, and Tim was the accountant, part-time.
Larissa makes her career out of chemical reactions, and no one gets in her way.
She's a take-charge person. She's a type of person who sees what she wants and makes it happen, gets it done.
Wow. Well done, Larissa.
Will you try and find some more like this?
Yeah, sure.
But her experiments don't stay in the lab. Larissa chases a different type of chemistry through illicit affairs.
There were marital problems and intimacy issues. Larissa had gone outside of their relationship.
Larissa is so confident, she brags to her friends at the local beauty parlor.
I mean, after I told him, he just acted like nothing had happened. I mean, what sort of man doesn't care if his wife is cheating on him? He's like a nothing of a human being. He's like half a man.
Long-suffering husband, Tim, is used to the humiliation.
Larissa Schuster was a bully. She bullied her husband.
You're gonna just sit there and act like nothing has happened.
Behind closed doors, the family is at each other's throats. Their teenage daughter is powerless.
Like you care that your wife has had an affair. Do you really think I want to hear this?
Their entire relationship was based around Larissa running the show.
I want my daughter to know what sort of pathetic man she has for a father.
That's enough, Larissa.
She was very controlling. She was very violent towards Tim.
What if I do this? What's he gonna do next, huh?
Neighbors would say that they could hear Larissa yelling.
I said stop that!
Stop it!
Crazy.
Things just got worse and worse.
I hate you!
The family is falling apart. Larissa sends her unhappy daughter out of the state.
Not knowing what to do with Kristen, they actually shipped her off to Missouri to live with her grandparents.
Look at you. Pathetic!
With her marriage on the rocks, Larissa confides in her beautician.
I just wish I could finish the job and get rid of him completely. Oh, I just wish he was dead.
You're just joking. You don't mean that.
Larissa's manicurist said that Larissa looked at her with a very serious face and said, "I wish Tim was dead."
I'm serious. I wish Tim was dead.
Not in a joking manner. Her manicurist tried to play it off and said, "You know, you're just joking. You don't really mean that." And she looked at her and again, very seriously said, "No, I mean it. I wish Tim was dead."
And I know people that could make it happen.
Tim has no idea his wife is making lethal threats. He's busy packing his belongings. He's moving out.
When Tim decided to move out of the house, that was a big moment because it showed that he was no longer gonna do whatever Larissa told him to do.
Although Larissa is now free to pursue her affairs, she becomes obsessed with Tim's defiance.
This is the kind of person that will not let anyone get away with anything that she doesn't want.
Tim moves into his own place. As Larissa recruits an accomplice, loyal employee James Fagon.
Got another job for you.
It could be Larissa brought her minion into the murder plot because she really wanted the help. I don't think that was necessary. I think Larissa liked bossing people around.
First order of business, a midnight raid on Tim's condo.
That's enough.
She recruited James to go and vandalize the house, take back some of the things that she felt were rightfully hers.
But Larissa wants more than a handful of material goods.
She realized things weren't going to go her way, and so she decided to try to make them go her way.
She wants everything. In 2003, Clovis, California, 47-year-old biochemist Larissa Schuster runs a successful research laboratory.
Commanded a lot of authority and was ambitious, got things done.
What if I do this? What's he gonna do next?
But Larissa is also a control freak who belittles and beats her husband, Tim. He's moved out of the family home and is filing for a divorce.
Significant amount of money which was at stake between the business and the two homes, roughly over $1 million, which was potentially in question here.
I will destroy you, you pathetic little weasel.
You're only
The way that she painted this picture of Tim was that he was the cause of the divorce, that he was a bad guy, that he was an evil person.
I will wipe you off the face of this earth.
That wasn't the case. Everybody else said the exact opposite, that Larissa was the problem. She was the mean one, the evil one, and Tim was really a victim in this relationship.
You're only half a man now. Soon there'll be nothing left.
And eventually, she thought nothing of Tim.
Larissa's rage is white hot because she is about to lose half her fortune in a divorce settlement.
She didn't want to share any of what they had earned together in the 20 years of marriage. She wanted it all for herself. But moreover, she had come to hate her husband.
She wants to teach Tim a lesson. A chemistry major, Larissa knows exactly what to do.
She'd gone online and done research regarding acid tissue digestion and digestion of animal tissue. She ordered an extremely large amount of acid, much more than would be used by her lab over the course of a year or more. She also ordered a blue barrel.
Her loyal employee, 24-year-old James Fagan, is convinced to help again.
James maybe saw Larissa as perhaps a bit of a motherly figure and someone who kind of took control of things.
On the evening of July 9th, 2003, Larissa is ready.
Larissa calls Tim on his cell phone and says, hey, you need to come to the front door.
I need you to come outside.
And James, who is hiding, jumps out and tries to knock him out with a stun gun.
James said that he was struggling with Tim, and then all of a sudden, Tim just stopped moving. He looked up and saw that Larissa had the rags, which were soaked in the chloroform, up next to Tim's mouth.
45-year-old Tim Schuster has spoken his last words, but this is not his last memory.
James said that Tim was still making noises, so it's obvious that he was breathing in some way at that point. Two of them placed Tim inside the barrel. Once he was inside, they stood it upright with his feet sticking out of the barrel. And Larissa grabbed several bottles of acid and began pouring them into the barrel.
Tim's wife is dissolving their marriage, literally, while her husband is still alive.
While their son's asleep upstairs, she's pouring acid over her estranged husband inside the garage.
They plan to seal Tim's body in the barrel.
What are we gonna do about the feet?
But it doesn't quite fit.
Don't worry, I'll take care of that.
She took a saw and sawed the back of the feet so that she could push the feet down, partially severing them so that she could fit the lid back on the barrel and seal it back up.
I believe Larissa is capable of killing anyone that crossed her. It wasn't necessary to kill her husband. She wants it all.
But Larissa hasn't thought this through. Although she doesn't love her husband, many others do, and they miss him immediately.
So many people loved him and cared for him, and in her arrogance, she didn't believe that anybody else would care for Tim if he was missing.
Furthermore, Tim's friends insist he has only one enemy.
A number of people that told us about how much Larissa hated Tim and how many times she had said she wanted him dead. So we started focusing our investigation more in that direction.
When they search the family garage, the barrel with the strong odor is soon discovered.
Inside, they found the remains of Tim. Everything above probably mid-waist had been dissolved, and there was just a liquid, sludgy substance that was at the bottom of this barrel.
Larissa and James are arrested for first-degree murder. Both are found guilty and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Larissa Schuster is currently in California's Chowchilla prison.
Larissa murdered her husband, Tim, out of greed.
A brilliant scientist and businesswoman, has it all, but she lacks the most important qualification in life, a loving heart.
I don't believe Larissa was one bit remorseful for killing Tim. I believe the only thing that she was remorseful for was for not being smart enough to avoid being caught.
These deadly women were most dangerous to loved ones. For Susan Wright, hate fueled her husband's mutilation. Obsession led Alice Mitchell to kill the one she cherished most. And Larissa Schuster's greed took away her children's father forever. All three women were determined to shatter their families with lethal love.